There are moments in a person's life when the ordinary walls of time grow thin, and you find yourself standing at the edge of something eternal. For years, you may have lived among shadows, moving from task to task, conversation to conversation, almost without noticing the deeper currents beneath your feet. But every so often, the tide turns. A window opens, and the light from another world falls across your face, demanding an answer. This Sunday will be such a day. Do not imagine that it will arrive with grand trumpets and heavenly banners unfurled to the public square. The most decisive battles are fought in silence, in the quiet chamber of the human heart. You will wake, perhaps groggy, perhaps restless, unaware that the hour has already been set in the calendar of heaven. There will be choices, not the sprawling, theatrical kind, but the small, razor-sharp ones that cut straight through pretense, and in those moments, the truest part of you will be revealed. We spend so much of life weaving masks for ourselves, the capable one, the agreeable one, the unbothered one. We display them proudly in the marketplace of opinions, rehearsing lines we hope will shield us from scrutiny. But the truth is never fooled. The truth waits patiently for the day when your life's play cannot be staged any longer, when the spotlight burns away the costumes and reveals what has been there all along. You see, what you truly are is not what you post, not what you recite to friends, not even what you hope to be. It is what you choose when no applause can be heard and no reward seems immediate. It is what you cling to when everything else is stripped away. This Sunday will demand such a choice. You may be tempted to delay, to ask for another week, another sign, another confirmation. But eternity does not run on our procrastination. The hour will come whether you are ready or not, and in that hour you will find that your soul has already been trained either to rise toward the light or to shrink back into the shadows. The temptation will be subtle. It may not come as a glaring invitation to evil, but as a gentle nudge toward comfort, toward the easier road. And yet the easier road always hides its true cost until the journey's end. The narrow road, the one that asks you to trust what you cannot see, to hold fast when you feel like letting go, that is the road that leads to life. The decisive moments that reveal our true selves often arrive quietly and unexpectedly. There is a great misconception that life's defining moments arrive with fanfare, heralded by unmistakable signs and the gaze of the watching world. Yet, if one looks closely at history, at faith, and at the mysterious workings of the soul, it becomes evident that the most decisive turns in a person's journey are often draped in the ordinary. The hour that changes everything may look no different from any other at first glance. The room you sit in may be dimly lit, the day's weather unimpressive, and the events unfolding unremarkable to those around you. And yet, in that quiet space, without announcement or warning, something eternal stirs, and a choice is placed before you that will echo into the ages. This is the nature of such moments. They are cloaked so that only the watchful and the willing will recognize them. While the world expects drama, the truth often works in whispers. That is why so many miss them entirely, going about their business with eyes fixed on what is loud and obvious, unaware that the subtle knock on the door of their spirit was the very moment they had been praying for. The decisive moments are rarely the grand public speeches or the celebrated victories. More often, they are the pause before you speak, the hesitation before you take a step, the private surrender when no one is looking. Such moments are not accidents. They are woven into the pattern of your days by a hand far wiser than your own, and they are designed not to flatter you, but to reveal you. The self that is paraded in public can be carefully constructed, rehearsed, and maintained. The self that answers in these quiet hours is raw and unguarded. There is no audience to impress, no mask that can hold under the weight of what is being asked. Here, stripped of pretense, your soul stands face to face with its own nature. This is why such moments have the power to define a person more than any outward achievement. A battle won before thousands may crown you in the eyes of others, but a battle won in secret crowns you in the unseen realm where all true authority is forged. The decision you make in such a moment is not about preserving image or advancing comfort. It is about aligning your will with the truth you claim to believe. And if the truth has taken root in you, if it has been more than mere words, then that alignment will come not as a burden, but as a necessity, as natural as breathing. It is also why preparation is vital. A person who has trained their heart to listen, who has practiced obedience in the small, unseen choices of daily life, will recognize such a moment when it comes. They will not be distracted by the lack of spectacle, nor will they be deceived by the apparent smallness of the decision. They will know that heaven often hides its greatest tests in plain sight, disguising the eternal as the everyday. Those who live only for the impressive will walk right past the door that would have led them into a new chapter of destiny, never realizing it was there. And so, the call is to live with eyes open and spirit alert, to resist the temptation to measure the significance of a moment by the noise it makes. For it is in the stillness, in the quiet, in the seemingly mundane turning points, that the truest parts of us are summoned forth and revealed for what they really are. True identity is exposed by choices made without applause, reward, or comfort. True identity is not something that can be crafted like a costume or painted on like a mask. It is not the sum of the compliments you've received or the titles you've collected. It is not defined by what others think you are, nor by the image you project to be acceptable or impressive. It is forged in the hidden spaces where you are free from the expectations of the crowd, in the moments when no one is watching and no applause can be heard. These moments are unfiltered, and they carry the weight of truth because there is nothing to gain and nothing to prove. When all external incentives are stripped away, you are left face to face with the essence of your heart. It is then that you find whether you act out of conviction or convenience, whether your choices are anchored in truth or in the shifting tides of personal comfort. Many people can appear virtuous when virtue is rewarded, and many can appear strong when their strength earns admiration. But it is in the lonely decision, made in silence, that the soul's foundation is tested and revealed. There is a deep difference between a person who does what is right to be seen as good and a person who does what is right simply because it is right. The first builds their identity on the fragile scaffolding of public perception. The second builds it on bedrock that does not shift with the seasons of opinion. When no one is there to cheer, the first will find the motivation fading, but the second will remain steady because their loyalty is to truth itself, not to the rewards it might bring. This is the arena where identity is truly formed, the space where you can choose freely without the push or pull of recognition. Here, there is no spotlight to hide under, no audience to manipulate. Every act in such a moment is a mirror held up to your soul. When you reach for kindness without expecting gratitude, you see whether compassion is a genuine part of you or a performance. When you speak the truth without hope of agreement, you discover whether honesty flows from conviction or from a need to look righteous. The irony is that these unseen moments often matter far more than the public ones. A single unseen choice has the power to change the trajectory of your life, not because others notice it, but because it rewrites the map of who you are inside. Every private act of integrity strengthens the unseen framework of your character. Every time you choose the right path over the easy one in secret, your true identity grows more unshakable. The challenge, however, is that such decisions are rarely glamorous. They can feel small, almost insignificant, like a drop in the ocean. And yet, over time, these drops gather into a current strong enough to carry you toward the life you are meant to live. Conversely, when you repeatedly choose interest over truth in the hidden moments. You may still maintain an outward image for a while, but inside, something fragile begins to erode. Eventually, when a greater test comes, that erosion will show, and no performance will be able to conceal it. In the end, it is not the moments filled with applause that tell the world who you truly are, but the quiet decisions that never reach another pair of ears. Your actions in those moments are the clearest language your soul will ever speak, and they declare your true nature long before any public stage does. The narrow road of trust and sacrifice leads to life, while the easy road hides its cost until it's too late. The narrow road has never been the path of least resistance. It winds upward through terrain that tests your endurance, demands your attention, and calls upon every ounce of trust you possess. It is not the well-lit highway crowded with travelers chasing comfort, but the quieter, more rugged way that few choose willingly. And yet, it is the road that leads to life, because its challenges strip away illusions, and its demands shape the soul into something capable of bearing the weight of eternity. From the very beginning, there has always been a choice between two ways. One is broad, smooth, and easy to follow, and it promises quick satisfaction without much effort. The other is narrow, requiring sacrifice, perseverance, and faith in things unseen. The wide road draws people in with its immediate rewards, ease, acceptance, and the illusion of safety. But what it hides is that these comforts are temporary, and the cost is paid later, often when it is too late to turn back. The narrow road, by contrast, asks for the cost upfront. It asks you to deny yourself certain freedoms, to trust a guide you cannot always see, and to endure seasons that feel like they will never end. But in the end, it leads to something that cannot be taken from you. Walking the narrow road is not about choosing difficulty for its own sake. It is about choosing what is right, even when it is hard, and choosing what is eternal, even when the temporary looks more appealing. There will be times when the easier option seems harmless, when stepping off the narrow path appears to promise relief without consequence. But such moments are deceptive. Every step off course, no matter how small, changes the destination. The longer you remain on the wide road, the more your heart adapts to its way of thinking, and soon you forget that there was ever another path. The narrow road demands trust because it often takes you through places where the outcome is hidden. You may not understand why certain sacrifices are necessary or why some blessings seem delayed. The temptation is to measure the value of the journey by the comfort it brings in the moment. But the narrow way does not work by such measures. Its worth is revealed only when you reach its end and see what you have become along the way. It is a road of transformation, where every obstacle is an opportunity to grow stronger. Every loss is a chance to gain something deeper, and every act of obedience plants a seed that will one day bear eternal fruit. This is also why the narrow path is often walked alone, at least for stretches of the journey. Many will not understand why you choose it. Some will try to persuade you back to the wide road, insisting that it is more sensible or more enjoyable. Others will mock the very idea that such a road exists. Yet, those who stay on the narrow way are sustained by something far greater than approval or comfort. They are sustained by the quiet certainty that this is the way they were meant to walk. The cost of the wide road is cleverly hidden until the final miles, when the path begins to darken, and the promises of ease and pleasure fade into emptiness. By then, the soul has grown accustomed to a diet of temporary things, unable to endure the weight of eternal realities. But the narrow road, even when it is steep and lonely, prepares the soul for a kind of life that never ends. Every hard choice along it is an investment in what cannot be stolen, decayed, or destroyed, and every step forward is a declaration that the destination is worth more than the comforts left behind.